Hi, how are you? How are you, Mark?
Fine, thank
How do
you.
you find the session so far?
Super informative.
Okay, so do you know that you can receive an exclusive badge for Global AI attendee and you can share on your LinkedIn profile or even Twitter or now the X? Within 7 days of attending these events, you will receive an email confirmation with an information on how you can claim the badge. So make sure you have an account or log in into the Global AI community website.
Wow, that's awesome, Majan. On to our next session. Chatbots and large language models are now widely used by individuals and organizations, likes of ChatGPT. We now understand how to build chatbots and also how to use them, but a lot more needs to be done on how to integrate them into our autonomous agent system. We have Jaya with us. Jaya, I can see you on the call. How are you, Jaya? So
Hi.
Jaya will be taking us through a session known as Building Intelligent Chatbots with AI, and I believe it's gonna be super informative. So the stage is yours, Jaya. Introduce yourself and then welcome.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I am Jaya Mathew. I am an applied scientist at Microsoft. And today, over the next 20 minutes or so, I'll take you through some basics of what are chatbots and how you can get started with building it. Okay, so now let's first get started with the agenda. So the talk's kind of split into three sections, where the first one is the introduction, and I'll get started with defining some of the basics, terms like chatbots, what is AI, what is generative AI, I think we hear a lot about it, and eventually get into AI chatbots. The second part of the talk, we'll talk more about conversational AI bots. So again, we define what is conversational AI, talk a little bit about building conversational AI and the entire bot building cycle. In the third part, we'll give you a rough, quick start guide on how to build these intelligent virtual agents. So starting off with steps on defining the various steps needed to build a bot. And then eventually we'll wrap up with some of our latest announcements from Microsoft Ignite, which was in the middle of November, and how we've done a little bit of a rebranding. And we have something called the Microsoft Copilot Studio. I will leave you with some useful links in case you're interested in reading more about any of these topics. And throughout the deck, almost all the slides have some URL links if you want to know something more about it. And I should have about 5 minutes at the end for questions if you happen to have any questions for me. Okay, so now let's first get started with defining what are chatbots. I think most of us have encountered chatbots in our day-to-day lives. So if you look at the screenshots on the right, this is a Whole Foods chatbot where me as a user is trying to explore some recipes and come up with some ideas of different dishes, cuisines. Maybe I have some special dietary restrictions, and the bot kind of helps me narrow down on the choices of my dish, what cuisine I feel like having, as well as gather all the ingredients that I might need the next time I actually go to Whole Foods. So it's much easier for me to interact with the chatbot. So if you think of a chatbot is a software application used to conduct either an online chat conversation or a text to text or a text to speech conversation instead of actually talking to a live human agent. So we've all noticed that it's very hard to get in touch with a live human agent, and most of the times we're interacting with chatbots. Now, what is AI? I think most of us have actually heard artificial intelligence in some way or the other in either ChatGPT or in various contexts. And if you are new to AI, if you're a beginner for AI, so you essentially have this GitHub page which takes you through the basics of AI. It's like it takes you roughly about 12 weeks, 24 lessons. Obviously, you can speed it up. It gives you a very good holistic view of AI for beginners. So it gets started with the old-fashioned knowledge representations, expert systems, multi-agent systems, and then gets into concepts like neural networks, what is deep learning in computer vision. I think most of us have heard about convolutional neural networks. Then in terms of NLP, it gives you some of the basic concepts as what is word-to-vec embeddings, what is a recurrent network, and now I think most people talk about transformers, things like that. So this is a link in case you're interested in brushing up a little bit about basics for AI. Okay, so I think now the last couple of years, I think most of us hear about generative AI. Again, if you are new to the concept of generative AI, we again have a GitHub page, which is Generative AI for Beginners. It takes you through the introduction of generative AI, exploring the various concepts of different large language models, LLMs. Then how do you build, image generation applications, search applications, chat applications? Then obviously with generative AI, there's a lot of responsible AI that's come into the picture. So you want to actually know a little bit about using generative AI responsibly. And we've all noticed that generative AI needs a lot of prompting. So, you need to know a little bit about prompt engineering fundamentals, as well as how to create advanced prompts to get the right response from these generative AI models. And finally, it tells you how to build low-code AI applications and design the UX for AI applications. Okay, so now that we know what is AI, what is generative AI, what is a chatbot, let's actually get into what are AI chatbots. So I think most of us have, in one way or the other, heard about ChatGPT or even used it. So if you look at the best AI chatbots of 2023, ChatGPT is rated as one of the best original AI chatbot. So it's just about a year ago that the world got to know about ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is a conversational AI chatbot by OpenAI that can produce text for you based on the prompts that you give it. It helps you generate emails, essays, poems, letters, etc., a lot more. Now, in fact, the new Bing AI also has this chat component. So they have also been rated as the best AI chatbot overall. Okay, so now we might want to know, okay, can we build something like this on our own? Okay, so now when we actually think of AI, generative AI, so now there has been a lot of focus on low code in the future. So if you look at the left-hand side, the percentage of the world data produced by generative AI will jump from roughly under 1% 2 years back, 2021, to about 10% in 2025, 2 years from now. So we are midway through the entire cycle. And the prediction is that more than 65% of the application development activity will be low code as soon as next year. So I think everybody wants to build these bots, and there's a huge push to have low code options available. Okay, so now next we'll define what is conversational AI. So conversational apps are a category of AI-based application solutions where, you can just imagine you're sitting in a room and it helps you answer, it listens in, it helps you coordinate, observe, as well as anticipate what your next move might be. So this is where imagine if technology could learn from us and discover ways to be helpful, and bots can, enable us to perform one or more automated tasks and using conversation as interface. So this is way more natural than us having to write code. If we were to step back and look at the evolution of building conversational AI, initially it was pretty much like you had domains of specialized vendors and data scientists who had the expertise to build it. Then came the entire phase of democratizing this whole bot building process. So you wanted to actually build in-house bots by professional developers, and now there's like the partnership between business and pro developers together building and coming up with the key components needed for these bots. So if you look at the intelligent bot building, the whole goal is to transform customer and colleague experiences. So you want to first build faster, make it easier. So you want this rapid development with an intuitive world-class designer. Then you obviously want to extend your developer potential. You want to accelerate development and collaboration between all developers. Then you want to also scale securely. So you want some enterprise-grade control on bots across the organization, maybe on-prem, on the cloud, whatever the company is used to. Then eventually, if you are interested in a cloud solution, Microsoft does have a cloud solution where you can enhance your bots by leveraging the various components of Microsoft Cloud. Okay, now if we were to look at the bot building cycle, so let's go through the entire cycle. The first step is you essentially want a very easy graphical user interface. So you want to create your bot using a simple graphical user interface, where step 2 is you have some starter topics to build from, and then you want to author additional topics which might be needed for your custom use case, where using natural language, slot extraction, entities, etc. And then you want to obviously sometimes need to integrate your bot into backend APIs using, let's say, maybe Power Automate, or maybe your data sits in a SQL Server or Azure Blob, so you need connectors and backend APIs that help you do that. Then you also might want to extend your bot framework with more complex scenarios that is very specific to your use case. And finally, when you're ready with building a bot, you want to publish it to some channel of your choice where other colleagues and members of your organization can access it as well. And once your bot gets into production, the next thing is you want to monitor your bot performance and look for issues with responses, latency, and look for areas where you can actually improve your bot. Okay, so it's a very simple bot building cycle. Okay, so now when we actually think of virtual agents or intelligent virtual agents, the goal is to empower almost everyone, from citizen to pro developers, to seamlessly build scalable and intelligent conversational bots together on a single platform. So we are trying to have this low code, no code option for everybody. And it looks pretty much like this, where you have the entire canvas where you can test your chatbot in the test option, as well as build your conversation tree on the right. So we will get into each one of the steps that you would need to take in the next section. Okay, so our goal is to help everybody try and build a virtual agent in minutes, and you don't need any expertise. We'll get you started with some starter topics, etc. So what is step 1? You want to create a new virtual agent. You open the virtual agent designer, click on the link, and the first thing you want to do is select, I want to create a new bot. Give it a name, and then this gets you started. The next thing is the bot already comes with a bunch of user and system topics. So this is helpful. If you're completely new, you could use one of these topics to get familiar with the entire structure of the conversation tree. And then you can edit the conversation tree by adding different modules. Next, you might want to add some conversation trigger phrases. So right at the top is, for each of the topics, you'll define a few phrases. So supposing you're actually building a bot to, let's say, help me find the weather. So you might actually have some trigger phrases like, help me find the weather, what is the weather today, weather by zip code, weather by city, etc. So the trigger phrase is essentially a way to describe an intent. It captures the way a customer might ask a certain issue or something they're trying to find out. Like I said, help me find the weather. So maybe that's one of the trigger phrases. So then there is AI under the hood, which would take some of your sample phrases, and AI will parse whatever the user says and trigger the topic closest to the meaning of the user utterance. So typically you have many topics, and maybe weather is one of the different topics. Okay, then in the authoring canvas, that's on the right, that you can see, you begin editing the topic. So right on the top, you see a few trigger phrases that the user like me would have given. Then, maybe the bot can, give a message back to the user, and then perhaps ask a follow-up question. So essentially, you build out this entire conversation tree. You'll see that, like I said, the trigger phrases is right at the top, and you can edit the conversation tree by adding questions, clarifications, then invoking some APIs in the back end, etc. So as you build your conversation tree on this canvas, you might want to test it out, because then at which stage you're making some error, and maybe you want to change the way the bot actually behaves. To test the bot, you essentially click the test bot button on the bottom left to expand this test window that you can see, where you can actually type out your question and see what the bot responds to. Then you can obviously track between topics. Like I said, maybe mine's the weather bot, or find some help me debug something, code, whatever. So there are a bunch of topics, and it'll help you trace your way through both the topic and any others that you might actually call. So then finally, if you're done with your testing, you actually might want to try out the bot. You might want to publish it to a demo website and share the URL with your colleagues so you can try and build the bot. Then obviously, you can actually make the bot look very pretty by adding screenshots, as well as maybe a user guide, a short video on how you can actually use your bot. Okay, so now obviously we'd also like to use AI in this entire process. So maybe, if you have a company website, you have a section for FAQs, and maybe FAQs can become your chatbot trigger, and the answers to your FAQs can become message text in that entire conversation dialogue tree. So using this interface, you can essentially create single-turn conversation trees in minutes, deploy, test it, and then obviously, more complex scenarios would take anyone slightly more time. In this entire framework, we've also incorporated copilots and conversation boosters. So how does copilot fit in? So authors can quickly create and refine topics using natural language. So essentially, you might just say, help me find the weather, and maybe it would just recommend which component that you need to add to the conversation tree. This helps reduce the bot generation time down from hours to even minutes. Then you also have conversational boosters, which uses AI. So you can essentially connect bots to the most current and useful data sources, maybe a website, SQL database that gets updated, that can help answer questions in minutes right out of the box. So you can quickly create and deploy a functional bot without having to manually author too many topics if your entire framework is quite complex. So essentially, under the hood, you can also connect this to the rest of our Power Platform. So Power Automate is one where you can create a flow where you can invoke the weather API if you're building a weather bot, invoke HTTP call if you need to do that. So virtual agents essentially support hundreds of pre-built connectors that comes with the Power Platform. Obviously, if there is a connector that does not exist, we do have the option of building custom connectors as well. Okay, so now when we step back and think, the entire goal of this virtual agent is to enhance the human agent's performance. So virtual agents can easily partner with your human agents and make their life simpler. And we're trying to leverage the best of both, human agent as well as virtual agent, while saving the human agent some time. And you want to actually create the ultimate experience for your customer, be it the virtual agent helping answer some questions and then kind of guiding the conversation to a human agent, or vice versa. So obviously there is interoperability with the Microsoft Cloud, and obviously other clouds have different solutions as well. So like I said, they have various connectors, maybe to Microsoft Office, Salesforce, Redis, Google Drive, etc. And then you can extend using Office 365, Teams, the Power Platform, Dynamics 365, and Azure. And then your virtual agent framework can use this entire connectors extensibility to build your custom agent. Okay, so as of 15th November, that's last month, there was a little bit of a rebranding that was done. So the Power Virtual Agents is now actually Microsoft Copilot Studio. So what is this Microsoft Copilot Studio? It's essentially a low-code, comprehensive conversational AI solution that helps unlock the new Copilot capabilities. Connect to Copilots to your data using pre-built or custom plugins. Then you have the GPTs, and you can create and orchestrate flows and conversation trees, just like I showed, and manage your Copilot in one central place. So now if you want to read a little bit about this announcement and what this rebranding might mean to you, here is the Microsoft 365 blog and a few links. Okay, so now I would leave you with some useful links, and I think I'll actually show you the web pages instead before we wrap up. So let's actually look at that. Okay, so now this is our GitHub page for Microsoft AI for Beginners. If you're interested, so like I said, maybe 12 weeks, depends on how much time you have. You have a bunch of different lessons, what is symbolic AI, computer vision, neural networks, etc. Then this is the GitHub page for generative AI for beginners, where you get started with various topics, and then you have Jupyter notebooks. So introduction to generative AI, LLMs, then responsible AI, understanding prompt engineering, etc. So there are videos as well as what is that content in Jupyter notebook, as well as text. So once you actually look at Copilot Studio, the first thing is they kind of tell you a little bit about the Microsoft Ignite announcement, where they say, Power Virtual Agents is now Copilot Studio. You essentially say yes, done, and then you can just say, okay, create a new Copilot and just give it a name and get started. Now here is, like I said, the announcement for what we actually did in terms of what does Microsoft Copilot do for you last month. Then if you want to try it out, you can try it out for free, try out a demo, and then look at what it can do for you. Is there something that's missing? And then you can customize, you can build, you can design, and then integrate the whole scenario. Now, if you would like to read the documentation, MS Learn has a lot of information about the overview, how do you get started, as well as, there's a quick start guide for that. Okay, so now that's essentially some of these links that are in here. And yep, so I think I've taken about 20 minutes. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to actually answer any questions for anyone.
Wow, thank you so much, Jaya. I don't think we have any questions.
Okay, that's fine.
But in case of any, I think people will reach out to you via the socials.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Super insightful and informative. We really learned a lot. And I believe the viewers are still learning a lot. As we said at the start of this session, the sessions will be available, the recordings will be available on YouTube. So get back to the sessions. If you didn't get a specific bit, you can get back to it. And I believe you're going to learn more and more in the course. So up to our next session in a few.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the conference.